topic is indeed very interesting, but at the same time it's quite complicated, because the situation that is emerging out of COVID-19 pandemic is still emerging. No one precisely know what will be the end, how it will end, and when it will end. And therefore, all these answers today are tentative. In past, as a joke I am saying you, if you ask 5 socialists what is the definition of socialism, the number of answers used to be 10. Similarly, if you ask 5 experts about how the COVID-19 pandemic will end, you will have more number of answers than the number of experts. And therefore, emerging global scenario and emerging new world order is also as tentative as anyone can guess. But we still try to understand the overall impact of this pandemic, and therefore how it is likely to impact the way we behave today, the way we work today, the way we work, the way two countries interact with each other, the way two societies try to understand each other. So there are sociological aspects, there are technological aspects, there are economic aspects, there are strategic aspects, there are geopolitical aspects, and all that are going to change because of that, because of this single incidence of pandemic. I don't need to tell you the enormity of the infections. The numbers are there everywhere and they are rising. More than 2 million people, 20 lakh people have been infected, have been diagnosed of infection, and there will be many more millions to whom the virus was exposed to. They got infected, but they are either not diagnosed or they are not symptomatic, they don't have any clinical symptoms, and their body had a resistance to the virus, and therefore they are healthy. Hundreds and thousands of deaths have already occurred and they are still rising. Fortunately for India, we are in much better situation because of the very preventive measures that have been taken by our national leadership under Prime Minister Modi ji, and also very rigorously followed by all state governments, irrespective of the party which state government belong to, and also by and large the society. They have very rigorously followed the instructions of lockdown, and that is why we are seeing that such a less number of cases are there in India. But there are immediate impacts. As you can easily see, let us start with the condition of students, because many of you are from that category. The exams are postponed or deferred in many cases. Many of you are not able to attend your colleges, your classes, are unable to complete your assignments, unable to complete your research, focus your research, unable to publish the results of your research, and so on and so forth. The students who are studying abroad are facing extreme difficulties because many colleges and universities are under lockdown. They are not able to not only attend their classes, but also they have problems of getting their food, accommodation, etc. and you can see the social media is flooded with the request for help all over the globe. For the country of like India, where there are close to 100,000 students, 1 lakh students across the globe, the situation is more precarious. On the top of it, few days back, the Australian Prime Minister has categorically said that those who cannot afford, for them the best choice would be to go back to their home country. This has created enormous unrest among the student community in Australia, and finally Australian government had to issue a clarification about that statement. But the core issue remains the same. What Australia essentially is saying, that many students, including many Indian students, they do part-time work in the malls, in the shopping centers, at the restaurants, etc., to support their expenses. What Australian government is saying, that because of this pandemic, there is going to be an enormous rise in the unemployment, and in such situation, if there is a competition between the local unemployed people versus the students, the preference will be given to the local residents, to the citizens of Australia. There is nothing wrong in it, but it is likely to impact adversely Indian students. Taking all this into consideration, how many students will attempt to go abroad even if situation is normal, or will they think again and twice and many times before taking a course overseas only because it gives you certain status? You will be surprised that even in the remote countries like Belarus, various CIS countries, thousands of Indian students are there studying. Even in China, tens of thousands of Indian students are working. And they all will have to answer this question one day, whether it is worth. The impact is not, of course, confined to students. In the Middle East, where there are hundreds of thousands of Indians working there, many of them as a blue-collar workers in the construction industries, in the oil sector, they are facing grave problem because of the recession. As you all know, that in last few weeks, the oil prices have crashed down to a significant extent. For a country like India, where almost 80% of our oil requirement comes by imports, it is a boon. It is a very good thing to happen, because our import bill has gone down substantially. But for the oil exporting countries, it has created a new problem of oversupply and less demand. And Gulf countries, which are mainly oil suppliers, are suffering because of these problems. Therefore, it is quite likelihood that there will be lot of loss of jobs, and many of which lost jobs belong to the people going from India. What they will do? If they all come back to India, if they all want to come back to India, it will create new types of issues, and it will be a burden on the economy of India. And therefore, it's quite a complex situation that on one side, low oil prices are benefiting India, but unemployment in Gulf is likely to pose new challenges for India. Oil economy has also another challenges, because there is a competition between US and the Gulf countries on the production and sale of oil. Many of you might not be aware that US has now become a major oil producer, and not only a oil producer but also overall oil exporter, because of the shale oil they are producing. Now, the shale oil is not as inexpensive as the conventional oil that is present in Gulf countries and many other parts of the world. Therefore, it is important for US to maintain certain price per barrel of oil in order to make this business profitable. Therefore, US is interested that there is no excessive fall of oil prices across the globe. But at the same time, the global situation doesn't support high oil prices, and therefore there is a big conflict going on between various oil producers right now, and this has created another geopolitical situation. But oil is not the only reason for unemployment. Even in India, you have seen that because of the lockdown, the issue of migrant worker has emerged in a big way. But in addition to migrant worker, there are people who are working roadside sabji walas in front of your house, the small restaurant owners, the waiters in that restaurants, the people who work in the kirana shops, those who drive auto rickshaws and Ubers and Ola taxis, they all are sitting idle without a job right now. It has created enormous challenge for the government. And in the country like United States of America, there are close to 15 million, 1.5 crore unemployment claims registered just last 3 weeks, which also shows that a lot of businesses are getting closed, and to start those businesses is going to be quite challenging. Even after the new world order comes into the place, the situation becomes normal. How the economy will revive is also another thing, and no one has a clear answer about it. There is economic stimulus packages announced by almost all the countries including India, but the impact of it will be seen only after a certain period of time. There is also a debate where the recovery will be like a U-shaped curve. That means the economy will bottom out, it will remain bottom out for some time, and then it will show revival, versus the V-shaped curve, where there will be a sharp decline in the economy and then there will be a sharp rise in the economy also. And then there are other models in between, some of them like even a W-shaped model, where there will be some ups and downs in the economy before it stabilizes. No one precisely knows how the things will shape up in the future. There are other aspects. Currently, entire world is dependent on China heavily for raw material as well as for the supply of manufacturing goods. And now people are realizing how dependent we are on China, and this is creating a lot of. For example, the trade chief of US has already said that we have ignored manufacturing for a long period of time, and it's time now to rethink about it in a totally different fashion. Japan has already announced a package, a financial package to the industries who would like to shift the industries from China to other parts of the world. This also creates some opportunities for countries like India, but we should be prepared for it. There are other aspects. Many of you might be surprised that why Italy is so much adversely affected by coronavirus among all European countries. Some of you might be knowing that in Italy, the disease cases started emerging in the northern Italy province of Lombardy. Now, Lombardy is a hub of all the luxury goods and luxury brands that Italy is famous for. There is a direct flight between Italy and Lombardy and Wuhan of China, and there are 100,000 Chinese settled in Lombardy state alone, Lombardy province alone. Now, once the epidemic is over, what will happen to this joint collaborative industry of Italian luxury fashion goods? That is a big question mark. Italy also, interestingly, is the first major European country who joined China's most ambitious project of the century, Belt and Road Initiative. That was in spite of reservations and opposition from several European countries in the European Union. But Italy thought that it is in their best interest and they have signed it sometimes in 2018. What will happen to it? In fact, the question now is being arise that what will happen to BRI, Belt and Road Initiative of China, because it definitely is one of the most expansionist project in the modern history of the world. And therefore, the question mark is being asked. Similarly, questions are being also asked about the future of multilateral bodies like United Nations Security Council. You must be knowing that China is opposing any discussion on Wuhan, on COVID-19 epidemic in UNSC. Similarly, the body like World Health Organization, its credibility is also being questioned by several quarters. So, this is the scenario right now. What will happen in future is therefore anyone's guess. In my understanding, that definitely the supply chain arrangements of China, of world, which is right now heavily dependent on China, will have some shifts and new emerging centers of manufacturing will emerge, will come up mostly in Asia, but also in certain parts of other continents like Africa and Europe. America is very keen to bring back its manufacturing industry back to their country, and it will also have significant impact on the global supply chain. But the interdependency of the world is likely to diminish, and if anyone thinks that world will become a very isolationist place, I don't think that is likely to happen. But people will be more cautious. People are going to be more cautious. Just few days back, I was asked by a friend that when everything is normal, will you be as comfortable to fly as much as you used to be? And my answer was ambiguous. I said, I will definitely not be scared of flying, but I will be more careful. And everyone is thinking in those lines. The things which we take for granted, like flying, like a daytime flight going somewhere in the morning and coming back by evening, and it is being seen as a status symbol, people are likely to think twice. How? Just yesterday I was listening that there are close to 300 cruise ships across the globe which give you very luxurious travel experience whenever you land on those cruise ships. And there are 30,000 people, 300,000 people who are directly or indirectly dependent on this cruise ship industry. You also must have seen that there are many cruise ships who are right now in transits, and there are corona positive cases being identified in those cruise ships. This cruise ships industry has now come to a complete halt, and no one knows when it will revive or if it will revive. There are predictions that cruise ship industry may not survive this onslaught at all, and for at least next few years there won't be any cruise ships. So even in our normal life, the way we see, the way we take the things for granted that those things are available at our fingertips, there is a question mark. Let me tell you a very small example in my personal life. I do buy a lot of things from Amazon and Flipkart or e-commerce platforms. I always think it as a convenience. And in today's world, when you cannot go out, it is always preferred that someone else comes to your doorstep and delivers the thing you want. So I started ordering few things which are available on this e-commerce platform. But today I saw a news that in South Delhi itself, a pizza delivery boy was diagnosed of corona positive, and therefore 70 families where he has delivered pizza in last 3-4 days, they were asked to remain in self-quarantine. Now I will think again before ordering anything on e-commerce. So this is a kind of environment we are right now facing with. It's full of uncertainties. Of course, the new world order will emerge out of it. It will have a very strong technological backup, and I always believe that technology is enabler to resolve many of these issues. But at the end, which kind of technology will be evolved is something we all need to see. And therefore, in this uncertain world, many a times we can just have wait and watch. And I hope that you are also watching all these developments with a great curiosity and also great amusement. And it is a kind of a learning experience for all of us that in spite of all these difficulties, definitely there will be a new world order, there will be new relationships, there will be new ways to interact with the people, the ways to interact with the governments, etc. In all this scenario, the role of India will of course remain very important, and under Prime Minister Modi, we have seen that we Indians are ahead of curve. Imagine what would have happened if the disease would have gone uncontrolled in the one of the most populous countries on the earth, where the population density is very high, several fold higher than anywhere else in the world. But because our government and the people remained ahead of curve, we were able to control the disease. But our leadership is not confined only to that. Our leadership also is also aggressively pushing international cooperation to fight the disease, to combat the disease, and also to support the people all over worldwide. We have supported to our neighboring countries in a multiple ways. We are supplying the drugs to even countries like USA and Israel, and we will continue to show the leadership in whatever is required to be done. So in that way, we are fortunate to be in this country and to have someone like Prime Minister Modi as the leader of our country. But at the same time, unless we all resolve to face these uncertainties which are likely to remain for a certain amount of time, we alone will not be able to do anything much, and therefore showing this resolve is the need of time. Thank you very much. किती वाजले? 4:30 अर्धा तास. There are some questions. As I know, there is a question at how many countries we have supplied the medical equipments. As per my knowledge about the medicine supply and other things, there are close to 10 to 12 countries to which we have supplied. And there is demand from many more countries. So the question is China's role. I don't want to comment on the China's role right now. Our first and only priority right now should be and is on how to control the disease and how to make India COVID-19 free. There are a lot of questions are being asked globally to China. These questions at some time point China will have to face, but for us right now that is not the priority. The people are, there is a question that how can we reduce the habit of people of holding cash? The more familiarity with the digital payment is the only way to do that. Means, for example, we can do certain things that the housemaid who works in our house, rather than giving her monthly salary in the cash, can we transfer it to her account? So these small things will have a big impact in making Indian economy truly digital. There is a question about testing rate. See, testing rate is a matter of judgment, and it's a little complicated issue. I will not be able to explain it fully here, but I deny this hypothesis that India's number of cases are low because the testing rate is low. If the number of cases would have been very high, then there would have been as many as hospitalization and as many of deaths, increase in number of hospitalization and deaths, but that's not happening. So even if we accept that there will be some people who are not symptomatic, who are clinically fine, but they are exposed to virus, the overall situation in India is much better. Again, there is a question about the role of WHO, but I again think that this is not a time to question. The WHO has also played a significant role in previous epidemic, right from polio, etc. So they have some credentials there in their sleeves, but right now we should not question the role of WHO. Yes, there will be a manufacturing shift from China. India has a great opportunity for it, and I am sure India will take a lot of steps to encourage manufacturing activities in back to country. So the question is that how far we are from UNSC seat. For the UNSC seat to, we will need the consensus of all 5 permanent members of world, and unless China endorses it, it is difficult for us to get permanent seat in UNSC. No, how to deal with China? See, we cannot wish away with China. China will remain as a global economic power, military power, and also manufacturing power. But the dynamics will surely change after the COVID-19. I think under Prime Ministership Modi, the relationship with US has now become strategic. We are 2 largest democracies in the world. We have several things in common, and we have bipartisan support in both the countries about the strong relationship between India and US. Therefore, the relationship will grow stronger and stronger. There is no question about it. And same thing is true with Japan also. So thank you very much for listening to me for a long period of time, and I really appreciate your comments and also your various remarks, and hope to see you soon, not digitally but in real time. Thank you very much. Bye.